welcome to B2B World. I'm your host Sana Maqbool, and we are going to be conducting a very special interview today. We have guests from the International Atomic Energy Agency and Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, and this of course is a very, very important partnership for Pakistan. Joining us today is the DG Iaea, His Excellency Dr. Rafael Mariano Grossi, and we've also been joined by the Chairman PAEC, Dr. Raza Anwar, who's Hilal-e Imtiaz, Sitara Imtiaz, and Pride of Performance of Pakistan. And of course, these two gentlemen represent this very, very important partnership that we're going to be exploring further today. This is very, very important in terms of the way forward, in terms of the ways in which we would like to see the cooperation of IAEA and the PAEC and the kind of initiatives and core areas that we've already previously worked on. And so, of course, this will be an interview that will delve deeper into these areas and initiatives and also take a look forward in terms of the future collaboration avenues. So, of course, we welcome our distinguished guests in the interview today, Dr. Rafael Mariano Grossi. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Pakistan, of course, and of course Dr. Raja Ali for being with us today as well. And I'll start with you, Dr. Grossi, in terms of what we know of the IAE and the kind of collaborative areas that we have potentially worked on. Nuclear science and technology is a very, very important field, and its applications, its peaceful applications, promoting those applications in different countries, assisting them, and providing that sort of technical framework for countries like Pakistan is an important role that the IAEA plays. And we've been, of course, part of its founding membership since 1957. So I want your take in terms of these areas that the IAEA actually focuses on, and then the ways that you've seen this partnership over the decades flourish and evolve together.
Well, like you say, it's an old friendship. It's a good, solid partnership, which is growing and has to grow, because Pakistan is moving forward with its nuclear civilian program. Currently 6 nuclear power reactors operating in country, providing in installed capacity circa 10%, but in real terms sometimes much more than that to the national grid. Tomorrow I will be visiting the 5th unit in Chasma. More units are being planned, and of course the IAEA, as the international hub for nuclear cooperation, has a very important role to play in terms of working with its member states, in this case Pakistan, to make sure that all of this happens in the best way, with all the safety, security standards being applied. And so this is a natural partnership, and I'm very happy about it. I see that the PAEC, and Dr. Anwar is here, but also the Pakistani nuclear regulator, the institutions of the country are very seriously applied to making sure that this moves in the right way. So for me, I visit all the world and all the nuclear power installations in the world. It's very important, it's very reassuring, and we are also extending cooperation not only in the energy sector, but in others that you quickly brushed in your introduction.
Absolutely. Dr. Anwar, I want your perspective also, because Pakistan currently is also serving on the Board of Governors as a member of that board. And of course, we've had a long-standing partnership with the agency. I want your take in terms of the way that you actually look at this partnership, and especially as part of the board, what areas and avenues are open to us to actually explore further with the agency?
Thank you very much. This partnership is very important for us as a nation, as a country. And as you said, we are having a long-standing and mutually beneficial collaboration with the Atomic Energy Agency since we became one of the founding members in 1957. We remain on the IAEA's Board of Governors regularly, and we send our experts to IAEA to receive enhancement in their knowledge, to receive further education, to receive further expertise, and while returning back to home, we apply all those things which we learned and which we learn. We had a very long-standing 7 decades we have gone through IAEA, And at that time, if you say that we were only a seed in the field of nuclear science and technology, now we are a reasonably grown tree. We have learned a lot from the prestigious platform of IAEA. IAEA has given us strength, and now we are the strength of IAEA. With IAEA, we are working in close collaboration for the peaceful purposes of the nuclear science and technology, particularly in the field of what cherishes me is the oncology.
Yeah.
Personally, I like that. The equipment, the expertise, and the trainings which is imparted by IAEA, and it's one of the initiatives of Excellency Grossi, Rays of Hope. It means radiations for hope. I really cherish that. We have 90 cancer hospitals. We receive trainings from IAEA all over the world. We send our missions. Those missions of IAEA come here and they impart educations, new techniques to us. We receive costly equipment from IAEA. Similarly, in the case of food, agriculture, nutrition, and water management, it is a vast field. We are in touch with IAEA, and we get a lot of support, lot of equipment, and expert exchanges between this. Nuclear energy is there. It is very important. As you know, we have 6 nuclear power plants, and our generation capacity with respect to energy mix is 8%, but on times in winters, we supply about 25% of the energy. So it is a wonderful relation, and we cherish that. Yes.
Absolutely, and this is something very, very beneficial to society, and there are a number of the initiatives that I'd like to focus on as well. But let's start with one of those that you pointed out, Rays of Hope, and very, very essential and very, very impactful for people's lives. And I want you to also highlight in terms of the ways in which we have seen that impact being created and the kind of requirements that are there in place to actually achieve that. While, of course, there are a number of hospitals that we're, of course, collaborating with, there are a number of people's lives that have already been saved through this. How else can we actually improve with the ways that we have new research and new technologies coming up? How can we improve the ways in which our oncological departments are actually helping these patients, and then have the IAEA support in that regard?
Well, this is an area, as Dr. Anwar was saying, of particular importance in Pakistan and in the world. It is a silent killer, much higher than COVID, for example, or illnesses and health situations that have captured the attention of media and the public opinion. According to the statistics of the WHO and other international organizations, we are moving into an area where the cancer cases are growing exponentially in many parts of the world, and we do not have the capacities to deal with that. In Pakistan, you do have a fairly strong infrastructure. We are providing training, we are providing equipment as well, and what we would like to see is not only that, but Pakistan is through some of its finest institutions, what we call an anchor center. And anchor centers we have in countries like yours that have capacities that can be put at the service of other countries, perhaps neighboring countries that are not in a capacity to deal with the number of cases that they are having. So we are working on programs to help us project these capacities elsewhere. We are focusing on breast cancer, cervical cancer, pediatric cancers of children. So those cases that are, if I may express myself like this in such a sensitive area, low-hanging fruit. Yeah. Because there are many cases. Where I live, for instance, in Austria, almost no woman will die from a breast cancer. And perhaps here in Islamabad, it will be the same. You have the diagnostic capacities, you have the treatment capacities, but in vast parts of in Africa, 4 out of 5 countries do not have. Yeah. And here we're not talking about billions, we are not talking about hundreds of millions, perhaps we are talking about 10 million to have a radiotherapy center. And then we are surprised that we have millions of people that want to leave their countries and go somewhere else.
Right. Help me understand this. So in terms of the kind of numbers that you've pointed out, so essentially the requirement is in terms of the financial aspect in other countries, for example, that you mentioned, where if the investments are as low as the kind of numbers that you're mentioning,
Yes.
then where is the blockage in terms of actually helping and building their capacities on a global scale? Do we have that sort of support from the financial and monetary institutions, also from the IAEA?
Not as much as we should.
Okay, why
And
is that?
Thank you for drawing attention to that, because I find it quite scandalous, I would say, that we are not allocating funds in a dimension that is not as big in areas of the world which would very rapidly be able to make a difference.
With a very small investment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you have, let me cite an example which I often like to mention to give an impression of what we're talking about. A country of the size, dimension of the Democratic Republic of Congo, more than 100 million people, heart of Africa, we all know what it means. It doesn't have a public radiotherapy. So we are now working with the Congolese government, with the OPEC Fund for Development, looking for financial institutions that can give us the means. And the thing is, not only the money, it's also the workforce, radiotherapists. Sometimes countries, and especially in developing countries, and I come from one, I'm from Argentina originally, so we have a very similar situation like Pakistan. We have places that are top-notch and places that do not have anything.
Sure.
But in some other countries, they don't have zilch. And the issue there, sometimes countries want the equipment, the hardware, the shiny CT scans and things like that, and they don't have radiologists. And this is what is needed. And here, for example, Pakistan has the capacity to train. We look for, training for 10, 15, 5 radiotherapists, technologists that can operate these machines. So it is at every level, I would say. The good thing is that, as we have seen, that with relatively little effort, you quite quickly change the statistics, and you really see a curve that starts moving in the right direction.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Anwar, so it seems that Pakistan then is in a position where it can provide these capacity building and training programs to other countries as well. So what can we do in cooperation with the IAEA for countries like African countries, as was being mentioned, in areas where we have more or less succeeded?
Yes, this is important, what you have said. Now we are in a position that we can offer our services, humble services, to our regional countries where there are less facilities, less human resources, and we can offer services on the platform of IAEA. The first thing is, and the foremost thing is, one should have the human resource to deal with science and then engineering, and then there should be technologists, whether they are in engineering, whether they are in medicine or something like that. Those three things should be, and no link should be missing. So fortunately, Pakistan has been striving hard and has kept its links alive, and now we are having a finest institute there in Nellore, which is PAEC, which produce world-class engineers and scientists since 1967. So this is the first thing, that we are having a degree awarding institute which produces very fine scientists and engineers. Secondly, the other link is that those people should have projects, and those should have novel, innovative ideas to transform the science into reality. Then comes engineering. We have engineering institutes which can transform the theory into engineering and bring all those things on drawings. Then the final thing is that you should have the proper technology. You should have proper equipment, proper machines to deliver all those things to the field. So fortunately, we are having all those expertise. So Pakistan, while using the esteemed platform of IAEA, can provide all these things to the needy countries wherever they are. We can develop their human resource in nuclear engineering in particular and other fields as well, diverse fields.
Right.
And then we can support through our engineering institutes. We have industrial concerns which are there, which can make equipments, deliver all these things. And finally, our trained manpower on our nuclear power plants, in our cancer hospitals, in our agriculture institutes are worthwhile. So all those can be used while remaining in touch with the IAEA.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you talked about innovation because, Dr. Grossi, of course, research and development is very, very integral when we talk about any sort of evolution in any particular knowledge field or area. And of course, nuclear science and technology is no different. But a lot of what we see evolving as part of the knowledge economy globally is also very interdisciplinary. And it's also now factoring in how AI is affecting the ways that we understand the world and the ways that we apply our knowledges in different areas. And so I want your take in terms of how we're going to factor in this evolution of AI, machine learning or IoT in terms of combining that with perhaps conventional ways in which we have understood nuclear science and technology and integrating those for initiatives of the future.
Well, absolutely. I must say, we see the IEA AI as a great opportunity. Already we are using it in a number of areas when it comes to our activity. Now we are talking about health and applications of nuclear technology, but I should also say when it comes to nuclear energy or even the non-proliferation areas, when we talk about the way in which we inspect nuclear activities in many countries. Artificial intelligence is something that we see as something that boosts our ability to go faster, more efficiently, in a cheaper way, and covering as much as we can. For example, let's go to examples. When it comes to medicine, the way in which we can apply artificial intelligence in diagnostics, in theranostics, is very efficient because it allows us to free human capacity, and as we are seeing, it is not so available in some cases, from jobs in terms of research, analysis of cases, clinic studies that are there in a way which in the past would have taken so many man-hours to be analyzed. So we openly embrace artificial intelligence. We openly embrace it. It allows us to do much more in terms of engineering as well, in terms of inspections, in every respect.
Is there a regulatory challenge to it?
There's a lot of talk about that. Curiously, some have said in some of these debates that the IAEA could be an example of what the world could aspire to have in terms of some governance of. And perhaps we could feel flattered, but I take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Why? Artificial intelligence is a very diffuse sort of activity, which is based on the combined operation of myriad of data centers all over the world. So when we hear about governance, words like governance of artificial intelligence, sometimes we have doubts. What we believe in the necessity, in the need, as in any human activity, to have certain behavioral guidelines, whether you can codify those in a way that is universally applicable, perhaps yes, perhaps not. I'm not a great believer in bureaucracies, I must say. So if you're planning to have an international artificial intelligence agency, I would be skeptical.
Yeah.
I think we have to be practical in this area, because at the end of the day, artificial intelligence is the result of people trying to be practical, to go faster, to combine available knowledge in a way that allows us to get to the next step more rapidly. Yes, there could be ways to use this in a hostile or negative way, and of course some guidance is needed, and I'm sure there will be something like that. But our take on artificial intelligence is definitely a positive and an optimistic one.
All right, that's great. Good to know. Let's also focus on an important area for Pakistan, which is agriculture.
Yes.
And of course, that's one of our prime sectors. And we want to, of course, take a look at how we can apply nuclear techniques in this regard, and of course, the IAEA support. Even in terms of disease control in livestock, Zodiac is one of IAEA's great initiatives in this regard. And so I want your take in terms of the way that assistance has been provided by the IAEA to actually develop that further, and then to actually translate that knowledge in terms of the way that it's locally applied. It's applied to systems of farming and agriculture that our local farmers are engaging in, and how relevant it becomes for that community to actually be part of this ecosystem.
Through nuclear techniques, we can develop crops that are better, basically, that are resistant to drought, and we live in a world, it's raining less in Islamabad, no?
Hasn't rained in a while, we've been missing it.
I've been hearing that since I arrived.
Yeah.
So we see this reality. It's not a fiction, it's a reality. So we have to develop crops that will still yield when there is less water. We have to develop crops that are going to blossom when there is extreme heat. Things like this. Yields can be improved. In case of Pakistan, for example, we have of course, who has not enjoyed Pakistani pashmina? Wherever you are, from Buenos Aires, Vienna, and the level and the quality of cotton that we have developed here with institutions like NIAB, for example, and the IAEA is a good example. So we are applying techniques not for the few or for a group of illuminated scientists. We are trying to apply that, and of course, not surprisingly, in Faisalabad, so one of the hubs of the Pakistani textile powerhouse that this country is, then we have a very, very strong operation there. And we've seen this. To go away from home a little bit, if you want, Thailand, rice, tripling yields of rice. So in different places, sorghum, soy, where we are able, through very simple, this is not a genetic modification. Important to be reminded, because we know that there is a global debate about this, and even with ethical considerations about this. Nuclear technologies simply enhance or accelerate natural processes. There is no modification, I should say. Not value judgment there, but simply to clarify. So this is very, very important. You didn't mention it, but I'm sure you're aware the way in which we use sterile insect technique to eradicate the fruit flies or mosquitoes that bring dengue, or maladies that have made a return in some places, including here after the big floods a few years ago, where you have all these spaces of water where insects will immediately come. So all the benefits that, through very simple, irradiate food, and then you prevent harvest to go rot, which is the case in many countries. You know that we have the calculations of the FAO is that we have billions lost yearly in food that simply goes rot because we don't have the chain, the refrigerating chain that it is necessary, which can be solved by this. So the opportunities are plentiful.
Absolutely.
And we have to make the best of them. Here in Pakistan, we are doing it. We are trying again to use this. We have a project like rays of hope in medicine, but it's called atoms for food. Not very original, the term, but graphic, hopefully,
Yeah.
that explains what we are trying to do with atoms for food. So we can use this technology, use of water, less drop for crop. So with minimal amounts of water, we can still sustain a seed. So these are the things that the challenges that we are seeing are putting in front of us, and that we can tackle with nuclear techniques.
Absolutely, and this all sounds very, very encouraging, Dr. Anwar, but excuse my ignorance, help me understand how easy or difficult this has been in actually implementing, and especially in terms of costs, because all of this, of course, sounds great in terms of the ways it impacts our agricultural economy and helps our industries and helps us grow further, but in actual implementation on ground, what have you seen in your experience of how difficult or easy this has been?
We should look for the climate smart agriculture. One thing is very clear from Pakistan, that Pakistan government is looking at all angles, from all angles where there are the problems. They are cognizant of that, and as you know that a couple of years the same government has started a green initiative of Pakistan, which has been taken after 1960s. We are foreseeing all these things, that our yields will come down, our population will grow, and that it will become a food security will be jeopardized. So government is cognizant of that. Atomic Energy Commission is having 4 agriculture centers placed well in all parts of countries. The very first in Tandojam, that was established in 1962 in Sindh province, doing wonderful on particularly in the wheat production. Then we have Naab and the Nibji in Faisalabad. They are working on variety of crops, and they have produced about 150 variants of crops over a period. Cotton, rice, mung bean, and many other things apart from. Then one in Peshawar. Currently we have embarked upon our northern areas, where most of the time the fields are covered with snow. Right now they are covered with snow, and a couple of months ago we started sowing wheat there, and now it is under the carpet of snow, and see what happens when the snow melts and what is the yield of that. We are working upon that. So hybrid seeds, all these things at atomic energy level we are doing, and we are using modern techniques. We remain abreast with the modern techniques. Of course, through Iaea platform, we receive a lot of assistance from them. Finally, Government of Pakistan, in its Public Sector Development Program, PSDP, we receive substantial amount for cancer, for agriculture, and for energy. So government is fully supportive of science and technology, the promotion of science and technology, and particularly that of nuclear techniques for future purposes.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned climate change, and you also mentioned the floods in 2022, and of course Pakistan unfortunately is one of the countries that is prone to climate-induced disasters, and of course such initiatives are very, very important. We of course also championed the debate around climate financing, but I'll come to that later. There is a relevant area in which IAEA is working regarding plastics, and New Tech Plastics is an initiative that you've taken, and we of course, and Raza, as you know, have taken our own initiatives in order to reduce plastic usage in the country. And so I want you to elaborate for our viewers also how exactly is that implemented in a country like Pakistan, and how we can then move and have a plan of action towards going in a plastic-free economy.
Only 9% of discarded plastic is being recycled in the world. So you can see how much we still need to do in this regard. There is an international process to try to have a convention or something. We at the IAEA are looking at the concrete problems more than the policy levels of that. We all recognize that we need to do something about it. And there are 2 ways in which if you want, at the two extremes of the spectrum, nuclear techniques help. In the first place, nuclear techniques allow you to analyze the type of plastic problem you have. For example, microplastics and nanoplastics in water. If you go to the reservoir here near Islamabad, you could be able, with nuclear techniques, to determine how much plastic is there, how much plastic even is in the fish we consume, we eat, because there is.
Unfortunate, yes.
And there is. So the first thing before you tackle a problem is to know what kind of problem you have.
To recognize, absolutely.
To recognize.
That's going to define
we
the
all
solution.
know in general that there is this issue. So this is the end of the spectrum. And the other end of the spectrum is the recycling, which is trying as people call it, in a circular economy, to try to put this plastic to further useful use. And through irradiation techniques, you can do that, avoiding the use of solvents, chemical solvents, which are quite aggressive in terms of effluents to the environment. So at the two extremes, if you want, first of all, of determining what is the problem, what kind of a problem do I have here, and how to solve it. I must say, there is a global recognition, but we are in the infancy of international efforts to try to tackle this. It's still, you will not be surprised when I tell you that we have started working very, very assiduously with Southeast Asian countries, where it's typical. We all have these images of harbors and ports, covered with littered plastic, and so we are working with ASEAN countries, and we are trying to establish pilot recycling centers in Malaysia, in the Philippines, and in other places.
Excellent.
But it's very slow, I must say. It's a slow process. It looks, when you describe it, it looks like a no-brainer, isn't it? But it is taking a lot of time because it's an investment. And to attract private capital to that kind of thing, it's still a way to go. But the possibilities are there, and this is why we launched this initiative, because we believe that by showing the private sector and the public sector as well that there are ways to tackle this in a cost-effective way, maybe we can start improving the problem. Apart from the policy levels and the conventions that may or may not exist, I think we have a tool to address the real problem.
Absolutely. And practically, Anwar Sahab, while we talk about how we address a certain problem, there are problems linked to the problem as well. For example, if we talk about recycling, there's also collection in terms of how we're actually getting that in Pakistan. And so I want your take in terms of how different institutions or bodies within our own country are actually supporting initiatives or creating that supporting environment for nuclear technologies or techniques to be applied.
In fact, as you know, it is a matter of behavior. It is a matter of behavior. We should reduce the use of plastics. We should use the paper-based carrying bags. This is the first thing. Second thing is, if we are to use those plastics, then we should have proper bins where to put them, and then those should be collected in a proper way, taken to incinerators, and then disposed of or recycled or something like that. Regarding the new tech plastic initiative of DG Grossi, we are doing research in our premier institute, PINSTEC, Pakistan Institute of Nuclear Science and Technology. So that is working upon that, and we are also looking along the marine coast in Karachi, what we can do this thing. As mentioned by Excellency, that it is the plastic which is all along the sea beaches, and then those are taken by the fish, and then fish comes to our home as a meat, and then we are
consuming it. Yeah.
So we have started that.
Great.
And even our government has started that. You have seen that couple of years ago in Islamabad, this initiative has been taken that plastic shouldn't be used. To decarbonize the things, we are using electric vehicle motors. The buses are there, motorcycles are there. So hopefully in coming future,
Yeah.
we will address this.
Absolutely. Change is slow, but we have to start somewhere, and I'm glad that there are steps being taken in that direction. Another important area that I want to look at is women empowerment, and I've been told you're a great champion of that, and that's, of course, as a woman, very close to my heart, too. So I'm glad that there's a very focused initiative taking place in terms of the Marie Curie Fellowship. But while, of course, these scholarships and fellowships are very important, there is, of course, a lot more that can be done in terms of gender diversity, inclusivity, and making sure that we have women and, in fact, gender inclusion in all ways and forms within this aspect. So I want your take in terms of what can actually be done for countries like Pakistan and others. While you talked about the Iaea, I heard you speaking about how the Iaea itself has about 51% women workforce. But in terms of the entire field of nuclear science and technology, in terms of the relevant institutions, how do we create spaces for women where perhaps traditionally these roles are not something that are encouraged, or the avenues don't exist for women to actually go ahead and pursue these careers?
Well, it is a very important point, and it's very close to my heart. Like you said, I worked internally to make sure that there would be parity between men and women in the IEA. Today we have achieved that. I inherited an organization with 28% women in professional categories. Now we are 51%, which means, and let me remind you that the IEA has one of the most difficult recruitment processes, most stringent recruitment processes that exist in the human family, if you want to put it like that. But that is only, and you're very right, it's only one part. It's an institution, if you want, even it's a bureaucracy. Where what does it do to? Well, I think there are a number of actions that we can take. The fellowships are one. But working with the industry, with nuclear industry, and this is where we are working. I'm working with the CEOs of the main nuclear companies in the world to, for example, link them with these fellowships, link them with young women in the sector, creating awareness of possibilities that exist for them to be working in the nuclear sector. And I think the stars are aligning in a good way, because one of the big things that we are seeing as a, I would say, collateral result, if you want, of this renewed interest in nuclear energy all over the world. We see it in Pakistan, we see it in France, we see it in the United States, we see it in China, first of all, and in many developing countries, is the workforce. Again, it's a little bit what we were discussing about nuclear medicine. You can have the idea to have a nuclear reactor or to have 2 or 3 nuclear power plants, but you need the people. You need engineers. You need all of that, and there is a need for those. And frankly speaking, our society is roughly half and half. And by not having women actively involved, we were depriving ourselves of, a pool of talent which was and is out there, and which is needed. Now it is no longer, if you want, let me put it in very, cold terms. It's not about fairness. It's not even. It's about being intelligent and working in a way that will allow this to take place in a good way. I celebrate diversity and difference. Women make it for incredibly good engineers, inspectors. Some of our best nuclear inspectors are women. So I think we are all needed, basically. There's no difference in our intellectual capacities, as it is obvious. We need also policies in place that make workplaces really, really friendly and open. Thank God we are not equal, and women bear children, but we have to facilitate. Because it's not impossible to have a career and a family. It's not impossible at all. And here and at the agency, we have lots of that. Still, we have to work also with associations. For example, in nuclear, we have something which is very interesting, which is called Women in Nuclear. Women in Nuclear is a spontaneous association of women. They have chapters all over the world. One very important here in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So WIN, we reach out to them, for example, when we are offering we have vacancies in certain areas. We encourage them to go and talk and pass the word so that we have, applicants that are coming. So it's an effort. My impression is that we are nowhere near where we should be, but the tendency, the trend is clear in one sense. There is no longer anybody rationally talking about these things that would challenge this, which is already a big win. Then, of course, we have to walk the talk, which is sometimes in gender issues a very typical thing.
Absolutely.
People like to make very nice speeches and then nothing happens in reality. I think in the nuclear sector, we are showing that this is not the case. But of course, much more is needed.
Excellent. Most welcome for such initiatives to take place. So, Anwar Sahab, I want your perspective on this as well. While we talk about women empowerment, of course, this is very, very important to Pakistan as well. And while these initiatives are taking place and we have the IAEA support, your perspectives in how you have also achieved that through the PAEC and developed those areas for women to work on, and also perhaps focusing on industries or business ventures that are women-based or women-led or that directly affect women, and those sectors in which we can actually work on and focus on engaging in developing through nuclear technologies and techniques that directly impact women also.
I have no hesitation to say that Pakistani woman is becoming more intelligent. She's more intelligent as of today. They are more hardworking, and nobody can stop them. When I used to be a student at UET Lahore back in 1982, there were only 10 or 20 girls, women, doing various disciplines, bachelor degree in various disciplines of engineering. Now if you go there, there are about 70 to 80% ladies and there are very few males. So this is what is happening in particular. In Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, our cancer hospitals, most of them are populated and run by ladies, lady doctors. And similarly, in engineering disciplines, in Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, there are many women doing wonderful jobs, doing innovative things, coming up with innovative ideas, coming forth with solutions, very difficult solutions, scientific solutions, and they are coming from ladies, and everywhere they are excelling. We can't stop them.
Absolutely.
Can't stop them.
Absolutely, and there's no lack of talent or skill, and of course that is something that we'll have to capitalize on and to understand how we can use that potential to our advantage. Dr. Grossi, I'd like you to take a look at the ways in which, in your tenure and as you continue as the DG IAEA, the challenges that you've faced in implementing or encouraging or promoting the use of nuclear science and technology in different fields and different applications, not just in Pakistan, globally, in terms of the ways in which you interact with different countries around the world, and then in particular your plans to overcome them in the future while we talk about assisting countries in these applications.
Well, in terms of the application of nuclear technologies and applications to address societal problems or economic problems, I think we are winning the battle. There is no real challenge to on the benefits and the convenience of resorting to them. The issue here, and here's where things start not too much perfectly, is when it comes to financing of some of these questions, in particular in developing countries. What you have is a community, I will, to simplify, describe it as the donor community, which could be identified with big economies, big countries, or even development banks or institutions that are making funds available for developmental projects. And the reality is that there is not yet at that level an understanding, and hence all these flagship projects that I have been pushing for, where we are trying to make it very, very clear and very simple how nuclear technologies are a very efficient channel, vehicle to solve a number of problems when it comes to cancer care, when it comes to medical imaging, when it comes to zoonosis, when it comes to all of these things. And I have to confess that it's still an uphill battle for us to make a dent in the development aid community, which is of course very active in a number of areas, including this, but without paying sufficient, in my opinion, sufficient attention to what we can get from nuclear techniques and technologies. We are turning a little bit the tide, but it's still, it goes slow. One needs to be always self-critical, and I think the IEA has not been looking so much at the private sector. I have embraced fully our work with the private sector in energy, in whichever we do, because we work with our member states. Our member states are the institutional representation of countries, but the economy is driven also by the private sector, especially in vast parts of the world. Not in every part of the world, but in Western economies and many places here in Pakistan as well, in the subcontinent, everywhere. So if we don't work with them, so example, I always like to put examples. When it comes to Rays of Hope and cancer, I simply go to these companies. Perhaps I shouldn't mention them for commercial reasons, but we all know when we go, all of us have been touched, personally and in our families. And when you go to a place, you see this name, that name, European big names or American big names. And then what I've started to do is I go to them. I go to them and I tell them, well, here I have a beautiful project in Pakistan or in Mali or in Argentina or in Costa Rica, where I need 2 PET or CT scans given to us. All the corporate world now has policies, in some cases even obligations vis-à-vis their shareholders in terms of societal responsibility and so on, which we were not tapping into. So I'm also trying, because countries, there is a limit to what countries are going to be doing in terms of financing, and we are seeing all over the world that there are restrictions, countries that are thinking twice or thrice, I don't know, no problem. But I think we have to go, I'm passing my hat everywhere I can to get that. So to go back to your question, the big challenge is not so much at the level of governments or the society or the professionals, is at the level of financing. And here is where we still see this gap.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you're actually talking about going directly to places where we can create that impact instead of getting lost in the bureaucratic channels. Dr. Grossi, my last question to you. How do you view Pakistan as a partner of the IAEA? How do you see this partnership growing in the future? What is the trajectory that it will take? And what support will the IAEA be giving further to Pakistan to develop and implement nuclear science and technology in the country?
Well, I think here, this is a country that is growing, an economy that is turning around in a positive way. So there is going to be growth, there is going to be needs, and there nuclear energy is playing an important role. The IAEA, working together with the Pakistani institutions, is there to provide the societal reassurance that all that we are doing is going to be working out right. I see a lot of potential. So my impression is that we have enormous opportunities and possibilities in front of us, so we may be talking about that next time.
Right, absolutely. And I beg your pardon for adding in another question, but our viewers always want to know what our international guests think about the country. And you've been here twice in a short span of time. Very, very grateful to host you here. So what are some of your favorite things about the country?
Well, the people. I think, you know, the geography, you know, you have it. Geography is in the hands of God. What we got when we...
Have you been around?
When we were, yeah, I've been here many, many times, as DG twice. And so this is a country we were discussing today with Dr. Anwar, where you move from freezing to melting temperatures in the space of 1 hour or two. So that is quite unique. And I'm sure that in terms of, for example, the tourist industry, this country has a lot to offer. Coming as myself from also a developing country that has known economic problems, I am very encouraged by what I see. I was talking to the foreign minister, deputy prime minister, who used to be the finance minister as well. So it's very good to see the economic reforms, you know, yielding some positive results. I know that there is a lot to discover. I'm looking forward to my trip to Lahore. We are going to be heading in a few hours. So apart from the nuclear, I want to see the fort, maybe, if you show me. Yes. I hear it's very beautiful, but very happy to be here. And as I said, what I like is the warmth, the very serious approach that Pakistanis have in this very crucial matter. You know, looking forward to more years of friendship and good work together.
Absolutely, likewise. Thank you very much, Dr. Grossi, and thank you very much, Dr. Anwar, for being part of this interview. And we're very, very happy to see this partnership flourish in the future and have high hopes, of course, from the IAEA in this regard as well. That's all that we have time for. And of course, we've explored our partnership with the IAEA, and we're going to be taking a look further in terms of the ways that nuclear science and technology can be applied in various industries and sectors in Pakistan. And we're, of course, happy to take this partnership forward. That's all that we have from the interview today. And thank you for watching PTV World.